Watch this.
Go on, or going further, rather, is the motive behind a boost in funding for what happens after high school in Idaho. Grants from last year's special legislative session are hoping to push graduates into Idaho careers. City funding could be based on enforcement. A new House bill could see tax dollars pulled from places who don't prioritize felony crimes. Does it have enough support, though, to go forward? There's a reason Idaho is the potato state. We bury any other when it comes to how many we produce. In fact, 3 of the top 4 tuber states are located right here in the Northwest. Now that number 4 wants to stand alongside number 1 with an official state vegetable. 2 weeks after Governor Little's State of the State address, we're getting a first look at one of his biggest ideas from that address, the Idaho Launch Program. That's a plan which includes giving eligible Idaho students $8,500 to pursue in-demand careers after getting a high school diploma or a GED. Almost immediately following the governor's speech, in some cases as it was happening, questions about how it will work were raised. Joe Parrish joins me now. So, okay, Joe, is every high school graduate in the Gem State here going to get $8,500 to further their education?
So let's be very clear here. This is not for every single student in every situation, but there is going to likely be some grants coming out in 2024. But let's dive into this together, because I think there's some information out there that may be confusing people. So here's what we know. A bill was presented in committee this afternoon by House Majority Leader, Republican Representative Megan Blanksma. And to be crystal clear up front, this is not a universal scholarship program, or really a scholarship program at all. And this is a feature that is being projected to begin in 2024. Now, Idaho Launch is a grant program meant for targeted investments into the career paths of Idaho students who are looking to get into in-demand careers, or careers that our state really needs more of. Electricians, welders, nurses, things like that. Now, Idaho Launch is actually a program that already exists. It aims to help graduating high school seniors to find careers that click for them. And through it, students can get training and experience in careers that Idaho needs. Representative Blanksma details more.
This is a jobs-driven program. This is not, I want to learn about art history. This is what jobs are in demand in the state of Idaho, and this is our tack for getting people who want those jobs trained for those jobs. There are a lot of jobs out there that you don't need to college for, but you do need specialized training, and they're in high demand. And that's what this is talking about.
So the new portion of this grant is to the tune of $8,500, and that funding is through the lens of workforce development. The legislature set aside $80 million just for this during the special legislative session during last year. So that money is for students that aren't really interested in the traditional post-secondary education. Instead, maybe they're interested in welding or electrical apprenticeships or training, something like that. So if this idea passes as is, students would use tools on the Idaho Launch site to connect with in-demand careers that they're interested in. And the idea is to get kids thinking about what they may be interested in pursuing specifically, rather than just saying, I'm going to college and I'll figure it out later, we'll see what I do. And that's okay if that's your educational path, but this is a program for helping students with non-traditional paths get some help financially with training and skill development. And some of those in-demand career paths are available through local post-secondary schools like College of Western Idaho, for example. And Representative Blanksma explains the process of the program is being designed right now.
The application process is controlled by the Workforce Development Council. They're going to develop an application, obviously, so there's a hierarchy of needs on how this works, right? First of all, you have to have an in-demand career. Next is financial need. So the Workforce Development Council will have to determine how that works, because there's no need for a FAFSA like you would need if you wanted to go on to one of the higher ed institutions at this point. So there's some development that's going to have to happen over the next year, which is the time that we give the Workforce Development Council to develop the plan.
So think of the grants to those students as an investment. The state invests in students. The payoff for the states is the students get into careers that Idaho needs. Win-win situation.
It is a targeted investment. Not only that, we should have a return on our investment, right? So if we're helping kids get to the jobs that they want by providing some assistance in their training, they're getting into the workforce, and then they're paying it back to the state by being part of a workforce. And so you get kids places they want to be, in jobs they want to have. And I think that needs to be one of our it always should have been our goal, instead of just simply saying, yeah, everybody should try, to go on to college. That's not for everyone. And we shouldn't expect it from everyone. It's great for some, but not for all. And so I think this provides a much broader pathway for students in Idaho to get the training they want for the jobs they want.
So, Brian, the bill's printed, and we'll be back for a full committee hearing soon.
I got two quick questions. So this bill, or this launch program, is for graduating Idaho high school seniors, or graduating, I should say, high school graduates. And what about those moving in? People that say get here or maybe finish up in a school in Washington or Oregon and be like, I'm going to move to Idaho. I'm going to go there and try to find a career there. And the other part of that is, do those people who get this $8,500 then have to, I guess, find a job in that field in Idaho?
So there's a lot of intricacies that are being worked out and will be worked out over the next year. But kind of the blanket thing here is this is for graduating Idaho high schoolers who are here in the state of Idaho. They graduated from an Idaho high school. They didn't just come in here after high school. In terms of getting that degree, getting that job after getting the degree, that's the hope and that's the idea. We'll find out, though, if
there's no guarantee that they have to stay here to do that.
Not that I'm aware of right now, but that could change. Over the next year, there's going to be all kinds of requirements and things that change down there at the Idaho legislature. And again, they're trying to get this program out in 2024. Real quickly, though, before we move away from my legislative topics, Brian will have one coming right after this. Just want to let you know an update on a topic we chatted about a few times here on the 208. Republican Representative Bruce Skog. He pitched the idea of withholding tax dollars from local governments who don't want to enforce Idaho's criminal abortion laws. There's been a lot of questions about this, and of course, the idea can be linked to the city of Boise. Last year, they basically said that the city, Boise, won't prioritize using city resources to investigate claims of illegal abortions in Boise. So the bill we talked about last week, it would penalize a city that does that, defying the law. So we've seen your comments. Brian and I even chatted about this on air. Why stop at just criminal abortion laws? What about other criminal laws a city could ignore or not enforce? Well, Representative Skog has a new idea.
You will recall that this committee sent a bill to the floor just the last 2 weeks ago, I think it is. It's up on the floor calendar now, HB 2, that addressed the defiance of criminal abortion felony statutes. Well, I had wise legislators, wiser than me, come to me and say, Representative Skog, well, really they said Bruce, why don't you put all felonies on there? That would cover us in the future for any defiance of felony law that the state legislature sets up. I thought about that and I think they are right. So I'm bringing you this bill for that very reason. It will not be a competing bill to House Bill 5. I'm going to pull House Bill 5 if you print this and reassess that for some technical corrections and other things in that. So this would apply to all.
And real quick, Representative Skog did misspeak there. He meant House Bill 2, not 5. The bill is printed. We'll soon see some public testimony. But there you go, Brian. It kind of answers your question that we talked about last week. We asked, well, what about other ideas about this?
Second Amendment, sanctuary cities, that kind of stuff. Yeah, bigger umbrella here.
Yeah. Right. So I'll be interested to see what the public testimony looks like and if any local governments show up to testify.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
In 2022, there were 23,131 reports to Idaho CPS, and of those reports, 9,300 of those were assigned for investigation. Of those 9,300, 80% of them were found unsubstantiated.
We talked about this also last week, that Idaho's Child Protective Services, within the Department of Health and Welfare, the claim that 80% of the reports they receive are found to be unsubstantiated, as you just heard. Well, that word is carrying around a lot of weight. We learned also last week the majority of referrals for investigation are unsubstantiated. That's what the Department of Health and Welfare told us, meaning they don't find any abuse in those cases. They are investigated, but those referrals are not based necessarily on a bad faith report, which is what legislation being brought by Republican Representative Heather Scott, as you just heard, and Republican Senator Scott Herndon hopes to punish by adding a criminal element to Idaho's already civil deterrent for filing false reports. We also talked about that claim last week, that there are a lot of unintentional, or intentional, I should say, false reports being turned in. But nobody seems to track this, not the Department of Health and Welfare, and neither does the Ada County Prosecutor's Office. We checked. Senator Herndon, though, testified otherwise today, introducing the legislation in the House and Judiciary and Rules Committee.
I did also talk to prosecutors, 2 prosecutors today, who said that they know of a lot of cases of false reporting, and they too wish there was a remedy, but there isn't. They don't know of any cases that go to a civil liability claim, and they would like this tool.
I asked Senator Herndon this afternoon what two prosecutors he was referring to there in that soundbite, and he said he wasn't ready to share that information, but those prosecutors may share their perspective during the hearing process, which will happen soon, since the RS they were talking about today will get printed as a bill, and it will get a full hearing after it passed the committee today with just a few minor changes. Ah, the mighty potato. Nutritious and delicious. But the Gem State's standing as the only potato state is in jeopardy, kind of, by the same people who want to be part of Idaho. All right, this is the time you tell us what you're thinking. Just keep it clean and classy. We love your comments, your questions, and your concerns. You can just text them to us, 208-321-5614. We'll even take your story ideas. Just include your name and the hashtag the 208. Oh, and stick around. You might see your comment at the end of the show. Bipartisan bickering, limiting the rights of LGBTQ plus people, laws based on unfounded theories, those seem to be the meat and potatoes of politics these days. Let's push the meat to the side and dig into those potatoes, should we? Literally, though, Oregon wants to add to its stable of state symbols during this legislative session 21 years after Idaho did the same thing. That would make the Beaver State the 17th state with an official vegetable. And based on all of that, you could probably guess what Oregon wants theirs to be. For the most part, state vegetables are bundled into binary bins. They're either grown underground, like Vermont's turnip, or they are sweet, see the corn of Illinois. Or they can be both. Look at Louisiana, New York, and North Carolina with the sweet potato. Or the sweet onion with Washington's Walla Walla, Georgia's Vidalia, and Utah's Spanish. Oh, sure, there are anomalies. The artichoke in California, collard greens in South Carolina, and Arkansas hanging on to the vine-ripe tomato. And then there's Oklahoma with the official state vegetable of the watermelon. Yeah, the foundation of almost every fruit salad is a veggie in the Sooner State. I mean, you can't just... Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. Oregon wants to get in the state vegetable game.
Hey, I hear you now.
With Senator Bill Hansel from the eastern side of the state taking up the torch.
It really is our number one vegetable.
For the tuber.
It's the number one vegetable grown in Oregon. It's the number one vegetable consumed in the entire United States.
But Oregon can't even claim second when it comes to potato production.
Idaho, of course, is number one. Washington is number two. Wisconsin is number three, and Oregon's number four.
So why is Senator Hansel pushing the potato?
First of all, the potato industry asked if I would consider doing it. So it came from constituents.
A political move because, well, potatoes in Oregon are a hot cash commodity.
It's over 200 million in crops. The next largest, closest, is onions at 100 million. So 2 to 1.
Yes, Oregon produces more than 2.5 billion pounds of potatoes a year. But compared to Idaho, at 13 billion, is it state symbol worthy? Aren't you worried about stepping on any toes of, say, I don't know, one of your neighbors?
No. I think we're following the lead of our neighbors.
So how do Idaho potato farmers feel about this?
Got sound?
There you are.
Do we have sound?
Yeah, can you hear me? Well, we asked one from Oakley.
We all know who the real potato state is.
Don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Is there a potato rivalry between the two states?
No, I don't think it's a rivalry. They're on the JV team.
Nice. That's true. But hold on. They do call the company Ore-Ida.
Well, that's true.
Ore-Ida, a potato company with roots planted in Pennsylvania. Ryan Cranny has some other suggestions for Oregon State foods.
I heard that they grow 99% of the hazelnuts in the country, so like maybe they could be the hazelnut state.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people on the eastern side of the state said they're probably nutty enough to take that one. There's a lot of people out there who would say, I don't know, the state vegetable of Oregon might be the devil's lettuce.
Yeah, well.
Senator Hansel says his resolution won't take anything away from Idaho.
Part of the reason why we're doing it is the same thing that's done so well in Idaho, and that is marketing. Idaho potatoes, everyone knows them.
Exactly. And don't you forget it. Everyone knows them. It's all about the marketing, isn't it? The potato lobby is strong in Oregon, by the way. When they tried to get the onion named as the state veggie 2 years ago, potato people pushed back, which is why this is happening this year. Senator Hansel says his resolution will go before the Rules Committee and is expected to go to the Oregon State Senate floor with due pass recommendations. House will likely do the same thing. Then it goes to the governor. Tina Kotek's office will get that and probably put her signature on it. And by the way, Idaho already has some competition when it comes to starchy state symbols. New Hampshire has had the white potato as a state veggie since 2013. The white potato, the thin-skinned version of its darker complected cousin.
Some amazing winter scenes that have been posted on our Idaho Weather Watchers Facebook group. Thank you for sharing those incredible shots. Underneath a mainly dry northwesterly flow aloft, this is our weather story for the week ahead. From time to time, we see some clouds passing through. Can't rule out a quick little flurry, but there's not a whole lot happening in the weather world, or our weather world, as this high pressure ridge is in control, keeping things dry across the west coast, and that also includes southern Idaho. So any significant snow throughout the week ahead, staying well to our northeast up through the Frank Church Wilderness area and into Montana for southwest Idaho. We see some morning fog, we see some below average temperatures, and we'll keep things mainly dry until we hit the end of the week. It's Friday that we start to see a chance of some rain snow mix coming into the region, into the valley locations, and some light snow for our mountain areas. It's not a lot on the way for the end of the week, but it will help to break apart any temperature inversion conditions that may set up through the week ahead. So maybe up to a half an inch, perhaps up to an inch by the end of the week here in the Boise area. Overnight tonight, clear skies leading to very cold temperatures once again tomorrow, teens and even the single digits to start the day, wrapping up the day with highs very similar to where we're sitting right now, 32 degrees for a high in Boise, which is below average for this time of year. Taking a look at the 7-day forecast, there's that chance for some light rain snow changing over to snow on Friday, and a chance for some more light snow into next weekend. The cold gets even colder 1 week from today. You can always find the freshest forecast at ktvb.com.
100 years ago, diabetics were a year into using insulin to treat their disease, and we were about to see the first issue of Time magazine hit the newsstands. Speaker of the House Joseph Cannon was on the cover, in case you're interested. About a month after that, Harry, Aaron, Albert, and Jack Wanzel decided to start a film company, and they would call it Warner Brothers Pictures. Here in the Gem State, newspaper headlines focused on legislation, communication, and constipation. At least that's what they were talking about in Idaho's only college town on this day in 1923.
It's the Moscow Daily Star Mirror, January 23rd, 1923. The Idaho State Legislature was looking to add a new district. Senator Frank Harris introduced Bill 69 to include Payette, Washington, Adams, and Valley counties into a new District 12. And the Vandal basketball team gearing up for a match against Palouse rivals Washington State College. Everything points to an uncomfortably close game. In science news, apparently penguins were getting a head start on Valentine's Day. A surgeon commander who just returned from the Antarctic said, when male penguins makes a selection, he places pebbles at the feet of the hen. The sun will be around for a while, according to a new report from Swedish scientists. They say the sun can keep on shining at the present rate for another 86 billion years, and if human culture is to perish, it will not be for the lack of sunshine. A little dark despite the topic. Maybe looking for a refreshment? Try this one, by women you know, a marshmallow and pineapple dainty. Yum. Mix some thick cream with marshmallows and Hawaiian pineapple. Be sure to serve in a dainty cup. Crypto! Sounds future-y. Absolute secrecy is now possible in wireless communications. The new device assures radio secrecy by removing the code and allowing only the intended receiver to read the message. What technology? Wearing white after Labor Day? The JCPenney company is breaking all the rules with their White Wear Week. Kerchiefs for men, 3 for 25 cents. What a deal! In entertainment news, Nero, the greatest of tyrants, is on screen, playing at the Liberty Theater for only 3 days. And giving Pepto a run for its money is Chamberlain's Tablets. Good for constipation, headache, indigestion, stomach trouble, and it's sold everywhere. And for healthy teeth, remember, chew Wrigley's after every meal. It helps to cleanse the teeth and keep them healthy. This is what's fit to print in Moscow, Idaho, January 23rd, 1923.
Oh, welcome back to the end of the show here on this Monday, right? Yeah, let's get to your comments that you sent in during today's show, like this one from Scott, who has a question that says, if I remember correctly, Mayor McLean never stated she would not enforce the abortion ban, just not prioritize it. Scott wants to know, we need a bill for that, and that is true. A couple people text that in saying, yeah, it wasn't a priority, according to the Boise mayor, and that's kind of where this bill is focused, on cities that say, yeah, that's not really a priority for us. So we'll see how that plays out. Unsubstantiated reference to the CPS referrals does not mean abuse or neglect existed. No abuse or neglect exists, It means the social worker did not have enough proof to file it. This is born out of the number of unsubstantiated referrals prior to the most substantiated egregious cases of abuse. Let's protect kids, please, says Tam. And yes, this is not in any way to say or deter anybody from reporting, because Idaho is a mandatory reporting state. If you see something, you're supposed to say something, no matter where you are. And just because it doesn't turn out to be something that is substantiated doesn't mean that you shouldn't have reported it. Let's remember that. 211, by the way, is the number to do that. The lawmakers are okay with giving free money to some students, but they give pushback on student loan forgiveness for a similar amount. How is that fair, asks James. That's a good point. That's what he wants to know. In regard to the launch program, it makes sense for every student who takes a grant to work in Idaho for 2 years before they can move to another state, says Diane. So maybe Oregon wants the potato as their official vegetable, so they're ahead of the game when they become Idahoans. The plot thickens, says Roger in Twin Falls. What are the odds Greater Idaho exists or state vegetable in Oregon is a potato?